Welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve. Sitting behind me here is my 1970 Triumph Spitfire named Aria. And in today's video, I'm going to be taking you through a bunch of odd jobs I've been doing over the last couple of weeks to get this prepared for the rear end to be assembled. So stick around, it'll be a good video. Today we're going to be working on the rear brakes, going to get these cleaned up in preparation for actually installing them on the rear end. I know in the last video I said that I was going to go ahead and actually install the rear end. I'm still waiting on some parts, so I figured I would work on these, get these guys cleaned up at least, so that way we can get them prepared to go ahead and install when we do actually get the rear end installing all the parts here later next week. Alright, so here's what we're working with today. These are the rear drums, well at least the rear braking parts for the Spitfire. As you can see, they're pretty rusted, nasty, and gross. I couldn't actually find new housings. I can't remember what the name of these are. But anyways, I didn't really think there was much of a need to replace them outside of just the fact that they're ugly. Mechanically, they look fine. They just hold the drum brake assembly itself. So what the plan is to go ahead and get these guys stripped down and then get them cleaned up and ready to install. One thing I do want to do is take note of also the braking system itself. I believe that these calipers are still in decent shape. They worked well for me before, but they were set up wrong, and I know that there's somebody in the comments already that's screaming that, hey, these springs are not right. I know definitely they are not correct. I believe that they're supposed to all mount from the back, and these may actually even be upside down. Don't quote me on that, but they might actually be upside down. Anyways, we'll fix all that once we get these put back together and ready to get installed in the car. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start by going ahead and just stripping these down, taking them down completely to just the housing, and we will go from there. So let's get cracking. Alright, so we'll just do one of these at a time. Let me get a pair of needle nose, we'll get these springs pulled off, get the actual pads pulled off, and then we'll start looking at removing the pistons. I don't know what the history on these pads are, but I mean, we'll end up replacing them for sure. But they don't look half bad. Looks like they got some life left on them, but we'll replace them. Alright, so now we're just down to the plate here. These guys. So let's see.
2 very boring minutes later.
One out. Okay, that's the e-brake. Now that just leaves us with these guys here. This is going to be the brake adjuster, so you turn this essentially, and this will go ahead and push out or close up the brakes a little bit to go ahead and adjust your brake pressure. Let's see if we can get these off with relative ease. There we go. Alright. I'm going to put these washers and nuts back on. I don't know if we're going to reuse these or not. I may just end up replacing all of this. We'll worry about that later though.
72 hours later.
Alright, sorry for all the noise. It's been a few days though, and I just kind of wanted to give you an update. Right now I got a little AC unit going in here, a couple of fans, so it's a bit loud, but anyways, back to the backing plates. So I'm using the Master Series or Master Coat Metal Prep and Rust Remover on these. I went ahead and I pressure washed them earlier today. And then I took an old wire brush, and I wire brushed them, and now I've gone ahead and put the metal prep on there and just letting it do its thing. So once that's done, I'll go ahead and give them a couple of coats of the Master Coat Slim, and then we'll get ready to go ahead and reassemble them. And I got some parts coming, so I got that diff. Start putting the diff in, and once the diff's in, put all this back together and we'll be rolling. So I will check in with y'all in just a few. All right, so we're back here the next day, and we're gonna go ahead and get these guys painted. I got the Master Series Slim here, and just gonna go ahead and brush it on. Probably give it 2 coats, and that should be more than adequate for dealing with these. And then maybe I'll throw some black on there or something, I don't know. Haven't thought about that yet, but we're gonna at least get these guys protected. So let me get that done and I'll check in with you in a bit. All right, so these are the finished backings of the brakes. They look pretty decent. I'm excited. These should be pretty much ready to go ahead and just put on the car. Of course, we can't put these on until we get the axles on and get the trunnion housings put on, but one extra piece done. So it's a win. Let's keep
4 to 6 days later.
All right, so we got Grandpa here. We're gonna go ahead and get this differential installed. I tried to do it by myself before, and that didn't quite work out so well. It really is a 2-person job, just to have one person hold the diff and then the other one to put the bolt in. So let's get you set up, and then I'll show you how to do this. All right, so what we did is Grandpa got this side of the cup to fit in. This side, this needs a little bit of work, but actually he had a brilliant idea. We were trying to get the bolt in and the bolt just wasn't going. So he actually used this access port here, which is probably why it's there, to actually lift the diff up with this screwdriver. And that was able to give us the height to be able to push the bolt through. And then I just hammered the bolt in. So we are through. The diff is mostly mounted. So we're gonna go and head inside, have some birthday cake for Grandpa. And I need to take a shower now because 10 minutes out in the garage did this to me. Check in with you in a few. All right, so now that we got the rear differential put in, I still have to come through and tighten everything down to spec, but it is sitting in there nicely, which is great, and it's securely mounted. I have to go ahead now and get these torqued down for the back also, get that back nut done. And then I went ahead and I fit the spring, and I actually wanted to just try to play with that a little bit. And so what I did is I took these bolts and I cleaned them up and I chased all the threads on them. And I found that there's one in specific that's got some pretty gnarly threads that even after being chased are just non-existent. So I'm going to end up having to replace all of these. So I'm not going to tighten anything down and drive it home until I got those new hardware. I also went ahead and I replaced all of the buttons that were inside of the spring. The old buttons that I got were just way too thick. So I went ahead and I ordered some new buttons, and I actually replaced them with some thinner buttons. They are a little bit thicker than the buttons that would come with us originally, but they are way thinner than what was on here from the time when I redid the spring. So a bit of work off camera. I went ahead and I also cleaned up and chased all of the bolts that come off of the rear end for the axles, and I need to get new nuts for that. So that's, again, more stuff that I need to buy. And then, yeah, it's really kind of just a matter of starting to put things together. And I'm just finding that as I go through, I need more hardware. And so as I need more hardware, it just kind of builds the list. So I was hoping to kind of get this all buttoned up and put together during this video, but the fact that I need all this extra hardware is just kind of showing me that I can't. So there are some things, though, that I can go ahead and start to mock up that I do have the hardware for. So we're going to play with that a little bit, start getting some of that stuff done. And yeah, let's just kind of go from there. There have been a number of jobs that I've been working on trying to just get small things put together. And I want to show you a few of them. So here on the front, I went ahead and actually removed the trunnions. And I put epoxy inside of them and on the bottom to go ahead and really give them a good seal, because these things are known for leaking. So I went ahead and did that, and then I filled them up with grease. I know I said I was going to do oil, but after doing a lot of talking with a bunch of folks that have been really experienced with this stuff, I said grease is just fine. So I'm going to go with grease. You can roast me in the comments if you like. Another thing that I did is I went ahead and I got my new bushings for the sway bars. I haven't actually put the bolts on them yet, or the nuts on them yet. But I got the sway bars mounted now with the correct bushings. As you can see right there, they're sitting nice. And we'll go ahead and get those cinched down. But we're getting closer on the front. The front is just about done. I do have some more work, though, that I need to do before I can go ahead and put the hubs on. I'm going to replace the studs in the hubs with some upgraded Land Rover studs, so that way they're a little bit stronger and beefier. And then we can start working on putting that all together. Let's see, what else did we do? Over here on the rear spring, we went ahead and replaced the buttons. I'll talk about that a little bit more, but the buttons that we had in there were just way too thick, and I went with some smaller buttons that are more to the size of what the factory would have had. And I'm trying to just make it sure that the rear end doesn't sit too high, because I am doing a 1-inch drop in the front. I don't want to have a 1-inch lift in the back and then have it have a really steep rake. So we went ahead and changed those buttons out so that's a little more close to stock. And that should make the car ride nice and even. All right, so I think that's going to be where we're going to wrap it up for this video. Unfortunately, like with a lot of the hardware missing, there's not a whole lot that I can do. And so I was not really able to go ahead and accomplish what I wanted to. But I mean, I got a few extra things done that I wasn't planning on initially, which is kind of cool. So bonus for that. That's definitely some time saved once I do get these parts. So until the next video, though, please remember that when you're putting together a car like this, make sure you order enough parts and don't be that dreaded previous owner. Cheers.